AskReddit by line of death. What was supposed to be the next big thing, but totally flopped. Amazon's shopping buttons. They pushed really hard for those and I never saw the point. They originally announced those on the 1st of April. They said it wasn't an April Fool's joke, but I'm still skeptical. I saw plenty of social media posts from people saying hey this is a joke, but I kind of want it. I think Amazon saw those and took a shot at making it a real product. I bought one for toilet paper and put it in the cabinet where I keep spare rolls. You take the last roll out, you press the button. It actually kinda worked. Connie 2012. What? Sharing a video on Facebook doesn't end the use of child soldiers. Crystal Pepsi, New Coke, orange juice and toothpaste flavored Lay's potato chips. Edit for correct Pepsi variant. Not entirely relevant, but I like the trend where everybody wanted the smallest cell phone possible. For 20 years cell phones got smaller and smaller, often being the main selling point of the phone. Then all of a sudden you could watch videos on your phone, and almost overnight the trend reversed to larger is better. Now I want to watch Zoolander. His phone was hilariously small. My friend who studies medicine had to install Second Life about 2 years ago for a class meeting. I don't get why they couldn't have used Skype, but okay. As a CS student I wondered WTF Second Life was doing on all the lab PCs. I thought it was some kind of joke until people with PhDs started talking about how great of a collaboration tool it was. It wasn't. McDonald's pizza. The issue here was time. The pizzas were actually a huge hit. The issue was how long it took them to cook relative to everything else. One person in a family orders a pizza and everyone else is done eating before the pizza is done. Source: former slave to the Golden Arches. Soap shoes. These were like normal shoes, but you could grind on rails with them via an indent in the sole. If you heard of these things from somewhere that wasn't Sonic Adventure 2, please tell me where? And please tell me where I can buy a pair. I had a pair of these and they were deadly around stairs. The indented arch was a slippery smooth hard plastic, and I never realized how much I placed the arch of my foot on the edge of each stair when descending them. Without fail, my first step on any stairs would result in my foot shooting out from under me. Man, I remember as a kid seeing the Ninja Turtles and Dick Tracy use video comms and thinking it was so cool and wanting one for myself, and now if someone FaceTimes me I have a panic attack. When someone video calls me I stare at my phone thinking I wonder what they want and put my phone away. Not sure if this one has totally flopped yet, but I noticed while in Costco the other day that there are no longer any curved TVs. If Costco is no longer carrying them then I think we can assume they're going the way of the dodo. And yet curved monitors are popular right now. Must be the viewing angle is better if it's just one person. From what I've gathered in this thread, Google threw a lot of shit to see if it would stickle mayo. That's basically their business model. I read somewhere, ages ago, that Google was willing to try just about anything their R&D people put out there, and if it didn't look like it was going to be a $1 billion return, they'd can it and move on. Also, a lot of things they cancel have features that end up in their mainstream projects. Like the conversation view, mail categories, trip thing, snoozing from inbox are all just part of mail now. Mini disc. TBH, I miss mini discs. They were great. Google Plus was supposed to be the answer to Facebook. That was a lesson on how not to handle hype. There was so much hype around Google Plus, it was infectious. But they refused to open it up to everyone and maintained a very hardline invite-only system. Even once hype had peaked and there was a notable decline, still they maintained a small invite-only system. I remember by the time they decided to open it up to everyone the hype was well and truly dead and no one bothered with it. They should have cashed in when hype was high, but they, I assume, got greedy. thinking the hype would just infinitely increase and people wouldn't get bored waiting to get in. 3D TV. Heard a stat from one of the 3D TV manufacturers that the average number of pairs of 3D glasses sold per 3D television was a number very much smaller than 1. I think they were too embarrassed to actually tell everyone how tiny the attach rate was. Movie Pass. I sure got my money's worth while it was around. Our and micro consoles in general. They are fairly popular with pretty niche audiences. Apparently the AR is a really good platform for emulating, but the problem is you can't really advertise a product that's really good at something that's in a grey area legally. HD DVD. Still remember half the movies being blue and the others red. This was gonna be my contribution to the thread. I worked at a Best Buy, Future Shop, at the time in home theater, and I remember all the 30-minute conversations with customers about if they should buy a Blu-ray or a HD DVD. The Dark Universe Cinematic Universe, starting with 2017's The Mummy, https://www.imdb.com/title/GT2345759/. I cannot think about that movie without remembering when they accidentally released an incomplete trailer. Best movie trailer ever. For those curious, https://yahoo.be/zi0mgrwqb6w. Edit, LMAO this blew up. Thanks for all the rewards. Vine 2. They renamed it Byte. They made it a TikTok clone. Quadraphonic entertainment systems in the early 1970s were supposed to replace stereophonic systems. Now they are chiefly remembered for inspiring the name of The Who's second rock opera. Pretty ahead of its time, considering how popular Dolby Surround is for home theater and audiophile purposes today. Second Life. In the beginning, companies even bought real estate in there to allow people to visit them. I'd only ever heard of this before in the office and honestly didn't think it was real, but your comment made me look it up and it seems like it's still going relatively strong with about 1M active users. I don't really understand the point in it though. Johnny Manziel. I remember when he signed with CFL and everyone thought he was gonna absolutely dominate. Meh. Google Wave. It was supposed to replace email with a more collaborative approach. Essentially it was like a dynamically created discussion board you'd share with select people and you could have a more readable discussion than one with a bunch of forwards and CCs and the like. I thought it was a good idea, but it flopped big time and Google got rid of it after a few years. The mistake was making it invite only like mail. Mail was a fabulous upgrade to something everyone already had, email, so everyone wanted the much better version. Wave, on the other hand, was a new concept. They should have been desperate for people to try it out and get creative with it, but instead they restricted access. Asbestos. Technically it was a hit. Right until it flopped when people figured out the whole inhaling rock fibers is not healthy thing. Not to mention that asbestos is damn near indestructible. Its inability to be broken down is what was causing the health issues. The Panama Papers. Edit, since I have your attention, I'd like to direct you to Isage's response, here, https://www.reddit.com/r/mo1p5/underscore/gv9i103 Seriously. The sad thing is, we all knew it would be like this. PT demo. This one still hurts. Google Glass. I heard one of the biggest issues was that it was too heavy and felt uncomfortable, but they literally couldn't make it any lighter. That streaming service that lasted like 2 months. Quibby or quippy I think. Even bad timing aside, a mobile-based streaming service at a time when no one could really leave their house, the marketing was just horrible. I saw ads for it for nearly a week before I realized it was a new video streaming service, and by that point was so annoyed by the ads and trusting everything I didn't care at all, just out of spite. Also I mean it was just YouTube you have to pay for and got worse content. Edit. It was Quibi. It made so little impact I couldn't recall at first. It felt like something an old person thinks young people want without doing any focus group testing. It probably could have survived, or at least slowly die, without the pandemic, but I don't think I would ever give them my money. Hoverboards? I remember in a span of 3 months everyone had them and showed them off and then they just disappeared. Edit. After further investigation I discovered they were banned in my province a number of years ago. I always hate the fact that they were called hoverboards. Segways were supposed to revolutionize travel and replace the automobile. Now they are just used for guided tours for dorks and tourist traps. Yes, this was mine. The hype leading up to it was intense. Like a year of promising something that would challenge how cities are built. No plots of places, just made them illegal on public pavements and highways. Airship travel. These were the next awesome way to travel long distances. In fact, the spire on top of the Empire State Building was meant as an anchoring point for airships. The Hindenburg kind of put a damper on it, though. Anyone remember the Archer episode where he was aboard a helium, I think, airship and he kept smacking people for lighting cigarettes and stuff, repeatedly failing to understand it wasn't hydrogen? Lol, classic. Hydrogen cars were a promising new form of motorized vehicle. They were supposed to be incredibly good for the environment, emitting only water as the exhaust. They exist, but not like how some people imagined. I was a pretty big hydrogen car believer at the time. There are some hydrogen stations, but mostly centered around California. Thing is that the hydrogen is quite expensive and not very efficient compared to smaller engines, hybrids, and EVs. The hydrogen is also somewhat inefficient to produce, store, and distribute as well. You can actually get a hydrogen car though, they're out there. The Toyota Mirai is a really good example. Out of all hydrogen cars, that one is definitely most popular. In fact, Toyota pays for $15,000 worth of hydrogen in your first few years of ownership since it's so expensive. This means that for your first 3-ish years of owning one, you might not have to pay a penny in fuel. As you can see, I'm still a hydrogen advocate. Don't expect to be able to take it very far from your nearest hydrogen station though. Edit. A word. The government has a car that runs on water. MAAAN. Laserdiscs the size of records. The Star Wars laserdiscs are what fans of the original trilogy love without the special edition crap. Edit. Here's a link to the despecialized editions https://harmies-star-wars-despecialized-edition-v2-7-mkv-released/id/12713. The Segway. It was supposed to change the way everyone lived. The invention of the century or something like that. A really big deal. Then someone decided to take off the handle, call it a hoverboard. You guys remember the Fire Festival disaster? Preceded by the Great Tana and Ashkans. Xbox Kinect. On the bright side, the Kinect ended up being a very inexpensive but effective tool for computer vision and robotics research. New Coke. Just a little inside information here. I had the opportunity to do some work at a Coke plant back in the day. When I got there, I was seated at a desk that nobody had been at for a while. Step 1 was to clean the thing out so I had a good space to work. In the back of one of the drawers I found a ton of old memos from the New Coke time period. Company leadership absolutely thought this was going to be the next big great thing. They were so excited to launch it and thought for sure they were going to shut Pepsi down for good. They were all in on it as a company. Here is an interesting video about the situation. https://yahoo.be/ghzjwmcayrq right square bracket open bracket https://yahoo.be/thjwmcake. Sega's Dreamcast. It was Sega's best console since the Genesis, but they shot themselves in the foot with the 32X and Saturn. Even with the great games, they still got crushed by PlayStation because Sega's brand loyalty was dead. Deleted. I've seen concepts where the smart part just velcros onto an existing diaper. In that case it has much more utility. Would be great for nursing homes. Caretakers would be notified when a resident has a soiled diaper so they don't have to sit in it for hours. 3D TV. I had a friend in high school who was preparing to go to film school. She swore up and down that 3D TV was the way of the future and one day all movies and TV shows would be in 3D. As someone who wears glasses, I'm glad this never took off. Also I thought it was stupid. We work we live. A classic case of something that was a good idea and actually at the right time, but was made to flop by being run into the ground by an unbalanced leader who was right about the ideas being timely and useful, but completely overselling it and taking a bunch of salivating venture capitalists down a primrose path. It also didn't help that so much of it was really a sham and almost a Ponzi scheme. It's not always about being the wrong idea or even the right idea at the wrong time. Sometimes it's just led by the wrong person. It was basically propped up by the founders' new age bullshittery. We want to elevate consciousness. Quibi. Quibi was never a good idea. It's just one of those ideas that a bunch of rich people go into a room and convince themselves is a good idea. The Wii U. It suffered from awful marketing. The advertisements made it look like it was some kind of add-on for the Wii instead of a separate console. Nintendo tried to use the Wii's massive success to sell more Wii U's that way, but they screwed up and should have branded it as a separate product that wasn't connected to the Wii. At the time video calling with your phone completely flopped because 3G couldn't support it. There was so much advertising about this thing that was meant to be huge but the tech really didn't work yet. But it did blow up later on with 4G, better phones, Wi-Fi and more public spaces. Mixer, Microsoft's Twitch. Failed spectacularly. It worked out well for Ninja and Shroud though. The Virtual Boy.